Hey there! Welcome back to Reddit Dating, best channel for cheating stories. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more spicy stories.
I walked in on my wife and her coworker naked in my house. Original story. My wife and I have been married for slightly more than 3 years now. Last Christmas, I found she had been having a long conversation with a coworker of hers, in which they talked about having had multiple times and that they couldn't wait for the next one. The guy said he was going to book a hotel near their office right after Christmas. In this conversation, when he said he was looking forward to seeing my wife, she would reply with things like, "I'm looking forward to much more than just seeing you," etc. You get the idea. Overly flirty, and when I confronted my wife, she denied the conversation existed. After deleting it, she showed me her phone to prove it didn't exist. But I had taken a few pictures. She then said it was all virtual and that they never did anything physical. To prove she was right, she messaged her coworker in front of me, asking if he had booked the hotel. He replied, "Not yet." She then asked if he was really expecting them to meet, to which he replied negatively. She promised they would never talk again, and I agreed. Simply because I love her a lot and wanted to trust her. But in my mind, I wasn't completely sure she had been honest. For a few weeks, I must admit I checked her phones a few too many times. So she changed her password, which I was fine with because I was probably being too paranoid. This week, I picked her phone up because I needed a code that had been sent to her phone number. I didn't even need to unlock the screen to get it. To my surprise, under the message with the code, there were other messages from the same guy. One of them was audio, the second one was a shirtless photo of himself in front of a mirror, and the third one said "sweaty" and a few emojis with the tongue. I confronted her since she had promised they wouldn't talk ever again, and she said he just wanted to show her he's going to the gym to show progress. But that the rest of the times they talk it's just about work, and that this is just a coincidence. I asked her to show me the rest of their messages, but she said she had mistakenly deleted their conversation history. My wife says she's going to change this time, and that I never really forgave her, and that's why she kept talking to the guy. She says this time she's really going to stop, but I have a hard time believing it. Or even if she does stop, I fear when things don't go so well between us she'll do it again. I really love her but can't keep living like this. Is there any situation in which this can work? What would you do? Update. After reading every single comment of the Reddit post, my brain just couldn't overcome the catastrophe and the collapse of the world I had built for me, in which my wife is my love, my best friend and partner, as well as the person I admire the most. She was entirely perfect and made me happy for many years. I thought no couple in the world could have what we had. We were both very happy for a long time. We were both attractive, we were both inherently good, had big hearts, and were individually wildly successful in our careers. After the Reddit post, I moved to an Airbnb and eventually with family to think things through. It was a terrible time, but a psychologist helped me recover from a terrible mental state. It coincided with the pandemic hitting very hard in my city. I caught the virus, which didn't help. During this time, we kept talking and my wife was very sorry and continued saying they hadn't met. I knew it wasn't true, but was willing to forgive the woman of my dreams, who continued being on the highest altar of my universe. Fast forward last Saturday morning, I went back to our place, ready to forgive her and talk things through in the most mature way possible. And well, there she was, but I was the one who received the biggest surprise, to say the least. The guy was in my house naked, and so was my wife. The guy from the messages, the guy from the pics. The one she said she didn't even like. I caught him hiding in my bathroom as my wife was putting her pajamas on. When I saw him hiding in my bathroom, he uttered, "Sorry, dude." For a second I asked myself, is this where I kill him? But I instantly replied, I got nothing against you, because the guy was just nailing this hot woman. Even if he was doing so in a house full of pictures of me. Pictures of our wedding and our families. Pictures of my dead father, who would be so sad to see how the marriage he never witnessed was going to end. He has always been the reason I try to make the world a better place. He passed away 2 months before our wedding. I'm sorry. I still love her to death. But I understand enough is enough. Even if my world collapses, I hope I can build a new one without lies and in which I'm not just a blind believer under an altar of a fake God. Godspeed. Wife cheated for 15 years of our 35 a marriage. Got confirmation a few months ago. So here is the full story. My wife and I have known each other since we were 4 years old. Her father and my father played football in high school together, and my father was the best man at her father's first marriage. We played together as kids and lived only 2 blocks apart. My family had an antique business and her family often came to the shows. Lisa would say she came to find me, and we would walk around the grounds together. In 7th grade her parents divorced and she moved with her mother, so I only saw her at the antique shows with her mother. We still walked around with each other. We met up in high school again, and she had a boyfriend. She still flirted with me at antique shows when she was not with her boyfriend. So when she broke up with her boyfriend our junior year, I asked her out. We dated for 3 months. She asked me to have with her and I said no, as I believe we needed to wait until we were married. One night during a date at the fair she said she was staying at the fair, so I went home. A couple weeks later she let me know she hooked up with a carny and became pregnant. I told her I would help her, but she said she would take care of it, and she was not ready for a steady relationship. We obviously broke up. We kept meeting at antique shows where she would ask me to walk around with her. She even started helping my parents as a ticket taker when my parents started running shows. My wife continued to flirt with me despite being with various boyfriends. I went off to college after graduating. When I was home one Christmas my sophomore year, I ran into her and she asked for a ride home. I took her home and we talked. She again flirted with me and tried to get more physical, but I still told her no. I went home and she called me a couple days later. I called her a couple weeks later to ask her to help out my mom as a ticket taker, and she told me she couldn't as she just had a baby. She asked me to come up. I went to her house and saw her and met baby. She confessed that she had always loved me, but she always thought I was too good for her. We talked and started dating again. After a year of dating she broke down and told me if I really loved her I would hang with her. I figured we were engaged so it was okay, and then 2 weeks later she told me she was pregnant. At the time one of her male friends asked my wife if the kids was his. I thought it was a bad joke, but after all that happened I am not sure anymore. We got married and I adopted her daughter. I thought we had a happy relationship. Everyone said we were a perfect couple, and her girlfriend said how lucky she was to have me to take care of her. After 7 years her father died and we were moving to a new state for work. She contacted the same carny she slept with when we were in high school and started cheating with him. She created elaborate lies, and after we moved to the state she moved out to live with him. We both saw divorce lawyers and basically I was told I would lose my kids. After 4 months he kicked her out because he did not like her lack of basic housekeeping skills or having to take care of her children. She apologized and stated she was so sorry, so we got back together. She was again pregnant with his child. We kept this information from everyone. We moved again, and after about 5 years one of her friends started cheating on her husband and introduced my wife to online hookup sites. My wife denied going on the sites, but when I found her email that she was using and looked it up she admitted that she was on the site, but she denied having any affairs. She was just there to chat about S&M, as I was not into that. We moved again and I suspected she was cheating several times. One time when we were moving again she stated she was stressed and needed to go stay with a friend. I told her not to leave, and that I needed her help with prepping for the move as we had to be out the next day. Loved me and then left. I found out 3 months ago that she left to go sleep with another man. I did everything and we were able to move again. I found another hidden email account of hers, and when confronted she admitted to being on site but denied cheating. I told her to open it up and let me read it then to confirm she is just talking. She said no, so I packed my stuff and walked out the door. Our youngest daughter came running and begged me not to leave, so I went back in the house. My wife and I went to counseling a couple times. 3 months ago we had a fight. She admitted to being on online sites for 8 years. I made a comment asking how many men she slept with. If it was once a year it was 8, if it was one a month it was 96, if it was once a week it was 416 men. She responded without thinking that it was just two, not counting the carny I knew about, so it was not that bad. This was when I found out that she left me to sleep with a guy when the family needed her help to move. She said she had not cheated on me in 13 as so I needed to get over it. So I know that 2 of my 4 children are definitely not mine biologically, and possibly a third is not mine biologically, and that my wife cheated on me over a 15-year period with 3 men, and they were long-term relationship that ended due to us moving. She claims to not have cheated in over 13 years. I stayed before because of the kids. I didn't want them growing up in a slum or not being taken care of. I did all the cleaning, cooking, tucked the kids into bed when they were little and generally took care of them. I still helped them out financially even though they are adults. They are now all out of school, so it is just my wife and I, though our youngest son, the one she had while cheating with her carny lover, and his wife and kids moved in with us due to losing his apartment and job. I am gutted that she could do this to me when I was the perfect husband. She even said I was perfect, and when I ask why, all she ever says is I don't know. I suspected all this time and stayed, but now that I know, I want to walk away. She is the only woman I ever slept with, and I worked hard to have the fairytale life that everyone who sees us thinks we have. However, it is all a facade. I feel I wasted all my love and devotion to a woman who will just as easily find another guy and never have another thought about me.